Hey everyone, Eric with Rockin H TV in the Diecast lab. Let me tell you about Jason. He started his trucking company with one semi a few years ago and is now up to 28. He emails me and asks me if I could replicate 3 of his flagship Kenworth trucks, and they are beautiful. Before we get to this episode of how it's made, let's take a tour and see what these real trucks look like, and then I'll explain to you what I did to make them look like the real thing. Here we are. I'm going to start with the trailers first. The first trailer we have is a drop center tanker trailer made by C-Bar Farm Toys. These are sold on the Rockin H Farm Toys website, rockinhfarmtoys.com. You can buy them there. This entire thing is 3D printed, less the wheels. These are Diecast Promotions wheels. This really is the only thing you have to add is the wheels. You have to paint the entire trailer, add any details you want, and then add the wheels. You'll see that on the back I've painted the mud flaps, added some DOT tape to this bar, and then took a red Sharpie or paint pen and added some detail to the tail lights as well as these lights at the top of the tank. Down the side of the tank there's 2 markers which are painted orange. So that is the story of the trailer that goes with one of the trucks. Second are 2 Dcp Belt Trailers. Nothing too flashy about these. These are stock DCP trailers, and they can be bought anywhere online and a lot of different toy dealer websites. About the only modifications done is these came as triaxles. I only removed one axle to make it a spread and then added the super singles on both trailers. On to these beautiful trucks. We'll start with the orange and black truck. This particular truck looks like you can tell he takes a ton of pride in all 3 trucks, but this one must be a show truck because I've seen the photos I received. There was one of it in a parade, and you can tell with the extra bling on it that this must be his own personal ride or perhaps something that they take extra special care in showing off. Basically what we did was strip down the entire cab. This particular W900 does not come with this kind of sleeper. This had to be added. It's still a Diecast Promotion sleeper that came off of a T800. The roof cap also had to come off of a T800 or T660 and then added to the top of this W900 cab. The top of the cab does have to be modified to receive this roof cap a little bit. Not a big deal, very, very doable. Then line up the back of the cab with the roof cap up here. The frame is stock. It was stripped down and painted orange. The orange does match the VIN to this particular cab. The decals were printed by Circus City Decals, and they turned out really amazing. These are phenomenal decals. The steps are 3D printed from model mechanic on shapeways.com, as well as these fenders. These fenders actually were modified to cover this third axle a little bit better, and then they actually rest on the tire just because the tire does not touch the ground, so I'm not afraid of it rolling, and then it gives this brittle plastic a little more support so it doesn't break during shipping or while it's sitting on a shelf. The rear double hump fenders are DCP takeoffs from my parts bin, and then it also has these super singles as well. The fuel tanks are handmade out of brass pipe and plastic and then spray painted with Molotow chrome to give the chrome stripe and then mask and then painted black after that. Molotow chrome was also used on the steps, and then right here below the door or below the hair breather and then right behind the front fender is also Molotow chrome. The exhaust, the visor, and the Texas bumper up front came from Truckin' Little. They can be bought on his website anytime. The visor was actually modified. I believe it was a drop visor or some other type of Kenworth visor, but I had to modify that to accommodate this new roof cap, which does not match the visor, so it had to be modified to make it fit. The cab lights up here are a new product by the model mechanic on Shapeways. These are individually placed. They do look really nice because they are the square headlights common on W900 trucks and specific to these trucks. They were painted with Molotow chrome through the airbrush and then Molotow orange paint pen to give it a light look. The grille was modified as well. A stock DCP W900 grille has bars in front with this mesh behind it. Well, to give it the proper look, I took an X-Acto knife and cut all the bars out, then used a file to sand down here along the bottom of the grille, and then up here at the top of the grille, used a file to make that smooth. Then cut the grille down, cut the mesh down, and then placed it on the grille. Before I did put the mesh on the grille, I went ahead and used Molotow chrome to give it a chrome look at the bottom and the top wherever black plastic was exposed. I used Formula 560 glue, which is kind of like Elmer's glue on steroids, to glue these on. That glue dries clear with no haze. Finally, I used some peel and stick decals to give 3 marker lights on the back of the cab, just like the real truck. I tried to place them in the same spots as best I could from the photos, and then using my best judgment. A little bit of glue was used on the back side because the adhesive seems like it doesn't stay sticky over time, so a little bit of Formula 560 on each one of these round lights to make it stick for a long time, and then place down. As you can see, the glue does dry clear. This taillight assembly is actually a DCP fender that was straightened out, flattened out, and then cut to size and then glued in place with decals placed on the piece, again to match the real truck. This black piece of plastic is actually a DCP frame cover that was modified to fit in between the rails on this particular truck to mimic the real one. I drilled a hole in each one of the frames to accommodate these airlines, which are DCP factory airlines just stretched out and cut to fit this particular truck. Also put in the hole with a dab of glue so they don't come out. They are loose underneath the fifth wheel plate, which does, once the trailer is hooked up, does give them a look like that's the way they're supposed to be. And that is how the orange and black truck was made. The red and black truck received the same treatment. The big difference here is there's a piece of light decal along the bottom of the cab. Other than that, this truck received the exact same treatment, less it has quarter fenders on the back, standard rear mud flaps, and then a standard stock bumper on the front. Other than that, the visor, the lights, rear fenders, the fuel tank here is not masked, it is painted with Molotow chrome. You will notice one thing I've left out is that there is a cap to make it look like a fuel cap there on the tank. That is just a straight pin cut down with a tiny hole drilled in the tank, and then the small straight pin inserted into the tank and then glued in place to give it the look of a fuel cap. You'll notice the decals again are phenomenal. These again were printed by Circus City and applied. The purple and gray truck received again the same treatment. The big difference here is there's custom paint on the frame and the sleeper, cab, and hood. The fenders were masked off to get purple paint, and then there's a herd bumper which is sold in the Rockin H farmtoys.com store on the front. The bumper, the tank, step, and then right below the air breather behind the fender all received Molotow chrome. There's no decals on this truck, but a herd bumper does take the place of the decals. Standard quarter fenders on this truck, along with stock rear mud flaps on this. Super singles on all 3 trucks top these bad boys off. Again, this was a beautiful set of trucks to do. These turned out very well. I'm pleased with them. This orange and black one really does shine. They're just all 3 very good looking trucks, and I'm pleased with how they turned out. If you want to take your diecast skills to the next level, go to diecastlab.com. Join my membership site where I reveal everything I've ever learned and everything I know about how to customize diecast trucks. There's also a few farm videos in there for those of you into farm toys. And as you can see behind me, there's an elevator layout, and that library of content's growing as well. Join me in the Diecast Lab where you can take your models from wow to wicked.